Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Today I'm sharing the cards I made using Love From Lizi's July 2021 card kit. The theme is Summer Botany. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available, but this is a monthly kit, so quantities are always limited. I do have links provided in the description box if you are interested in any of the products I show in this video. So let's go ahead and get started with card number 1. The kit includes 6x8 pattern paper and also 3 sheets of 12x12 pattern paper. For that background piece, I used the back side of one of the 12x12 sheets. It has cut aparts on the other side. And then the butterflies are from one of the 6x8 sheets. There were actually 5 butterflies and I just cut out 3 of them. Layered them on some black cardstock and I decided to put those butterflies at an angle. This kit really has a very mixed media feel to it, which is not my style. I'm using this little hello tag. This is one of the ephemera pieces that's included in the kit. And then I have this stripe paper, which was part of a cut apart from that 12x12 sheet. So I just layered the 2 pieces together. Before adhering them to the card, I'm putting some scrap cardstock on that right side where it goes off of that butterfly paper. Then I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it between those lower 2 butterflies. I'm using one of the add-on peel-off sheets. It's a beautiful red mirror heart. I'll put 2 of them above that hello sentiment. That red is so pretty and it matches nicely with the red in the butterflies. The kit includes several pieces of twine. I'm using the natural color, just tying a bow, and I'll adhere it underneath that sentiment tag. And I'm using a small glue dot, just putting it behind the knot of the bow. And for a finishing touch, I decided those butterflies needed to sparkle, so I'm using a glitter brush from scrapbook.com. This is just a clear color, but it adds a beautiful sparkle. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 1. If you really like butterflies, this kit has lots of butterflies. It's so pretty. For card number 2, I'm using a card sketch. This is from OWH. It's number 240. I have this lovely tone-on-tone paper for the background that has little ferns and little butterflies on it. And then I'm using some butterfly pattern paper for that smaller rectangle piece. I'm using some rose gold peel-offs and putting it along the side of this polka dot paper just for a little extra shine. I'll have the ends go off of the edge and I'll just wrap them around the back just to make sure they're not going to come off later. And I'll be layering that background piece on 2 different cardstock colors. I have the red that's from the kit and also the black cardstock. The kit does include 5 sheets of cardstock. I will be bringing in additional cardstock since I love to add lots of layers to my cards. This sketch has measurements on it, which is really nice. It does have those cardstock layers at an additional 1/4 of an inch, and I'll be changing that and only adding an additional 1/8 of an inch. But for the very background, I decided to have those 2 colors. I like the look of the 2 cardstock layers. Now for this sentiment, I'm using one of the 2x2 cut aparts that's included in the kit, and I just trimmed it down. There was just a little extra of that pink pattern, and I didn't want to cover up too many of those butterflies, so just trimming it down worked out nicely. I'm adding that scrap piece of cardstock to the left side where it goes off of that butterfly paper, and then just adhere it to the card. Then I'll bring in one of the flowers that are included in the kit. These are really pretty. It has a very large pearl in the center, so it's not flat. You would have to pay additional postage to mail them, but it's perfect for hand delivery. And I'll also bring in a few of the sequins that are included in the kit. I was trying to decide what color I wanted. The red looked nice, but I felt it stood out just a little too much, so I wanted to choose one of the sequins that sort of blended into the background, but it still adds a pretty sparkle. So I'm using that cream color. I'll put 2 of them in the upper left-hand corner. Then one final finishing touch, I decided to add a couple of peel-offs underneath the word hello. This is the gold moon dust color, and it's one of the add-on peel-offs that are in the little bundles. I'll just put 2 of them underneath the sentiment. And there is my finished card, and this is card number 2. And it's hard to tell in the video, but those flowers also have this pretty iridescent finish on them, so they're very sparkly. For card number 3, I'm using a sketch from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 484. I have some pattern paper with this tone-on-tone design. This is one of the 6x8 sheets, and I just trimmed it down. I'm adding 2 of the teal mirror peel-offs to the very bottom portion of this panel. Just wrap those ends around the back. So you can see on the back side, this pattern paper has that very mixed media look to it. I'll just layer this on some teal cardstock, and this is cardstock that I have from my craft room. Then I'll put my card front onto a card base, and for this card I'm leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the image and sentiment, I'm using one of the 2x2 cut aparts. Looks like a wood button. It has a flower, a butterfly, and the sentiment sweet on it. So I layered it on that same teal cardstock. Now instead of the little leaf that's indicated on the sketch, I'm using a couple of the ephemera butterflies, and I'll pop them up using some thin foam squares. So I have one in that green and teal color and the other in yellow, so it really matches with the images on that cut apart. So just trying to decide placement on those 2 butterflies. Then I'll also add a couple of small banners in the upper left-hand corner. I cut out one from some white shimmer cardstock, and the other is that same teal cardstock. I'm adding just that small scrap piece of cardstock to the right of the white banner before I adhere that teal banner, just to keep them at the same level. And I realized I didn't have the top of that banner very straight, so I'm just trying to trim it down a bit before that glue dries. And for a couple of finishing touches, I'm bringing in some of the peel-offs. These are the mini circle style in gold glitter. I'll put 3 of them in the lower right-hand corner and 2 in the upper left-hand corner on top of those little banners. I love the mini shape peel-offs. They add some beautiful sparkle and shine without the extra dimension. And then I'll also add some of the glitter to those butterflies. They just need that extra sparkle. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 3. Now moving on to card number 4, and this is one of my favorite cards. I have the butterfly paper that I featured on card number 2. I also have some polka dot paper for the lower portion. I'm adding a scallop border die cut in black, just for some extra contrast. And then I'll add one of the peel-offs. This is the mink color in the pinstripe style. I'm just going to put it over that black border die cut. Wrap those ends around the back, and then I'll layer this panel on some black cardstock. I do tend to use a lot of black cardstock. It just goes nicely with the kit. I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I'll be using one of the larger floral ephemera pieces for the main image on this card. I cut out a stitched oval die cut. I used some of the 12x12 paper for that. The back side has the cut apart, and then it has this tone-on-tone pattern on the front, and I used that one quite a bit. I did cut out another oval die cut that same size, and I just trimmed it down a bit, and I'm adding it to the back, just leaving a gap in the lower portion where it goes over that scallop border die cut. And adding those extra cardstock pieces underneath just lifts everything up, and you won't have that noticeable bump from where that scallop border die cut is. And I'll just glue down the ephemera piece. I'm using one of the sentiments from the kit. This is Made with Love. I just stamped it on some white cardstock. Before adhering it to the card, I will add a thin foam square on the right side. And I'll also add a stitched banner in that upper left-hand corner. And a few finishing touches, I'm bringing in those mini hearts again. I'll put one of them above the sentiment and then 2 to the left of the image. Time to make things sparkle. I'm going to bring in that glitter brush and add it to all of the flowers. I'm not a fan of using loose glitter, but I really like the glitter brush because it doesn't make a mess. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 4. Moving on to card number 5. I have this beautiful pattern paper with the butterflies in the background. I'm adding a couple of the teal mirror peel-offs to the very lower portion. I like to add 2. So I have the medium width and also the thinnest width. And I lined up my panel with my craft mat to try to get those nice and straight. Wrap those ends around the back and layer this piece on some black cardstock. Then I'll add my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. So most of my background pattern paper panels are 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm just adding an additional 1/8 of an inch for those layers. Next, I'll be using one of the 3 by 4 inch cut aparts. It has this butterfly or maybe a moth on the top and the word hope underneath. So rather than just adhere that 3 by 4 inch rectangle, I decided to trim off the bottom portion with the sentiment. Then I use a stitch circle die to cut out that butterfly. Now I wasn't able to get a full circle because it would have cut into the word hope. So I just left that bottom portion straight, and then I'll adhere this sentiment on top. So now I've completely changed the look of that 3 by 4 cut apart. I also layered that stitched circle die cut on some of the gold pearlescent cardstock, and this is one of the add-on bundles that Lizi offers. I love the pearlescent cardstock bundles. I am popping up the sentiment using some thin foam squares. I did leave a little gap where it's going over part of that cut apart with the butterfly. And I just put a scrap piece of cardstock. Next, I'll bring in some of the twine from the kit. This is black and it has some gold threads. I have 2 pieces, so I'm tying a double bow. So once I'm happy with the size of those loops, I'll just trim down the tails a bit. So then I was trying to figure out where I wanted to place it. Going above, below the sentiment, off to the right. I wasn't really sure, and then I finally decided to place it in the upper left-hand corner above that little butterfly or moth. Not really sure what it is. And I'll adhere it to the card with a small glue dot. I'll also bring in some more of the mini circle peel-offs in the gold glitter color, using the medium size and putting one on either side of the sentiment. And then I'll also add some of the glitter to the wings on that butterfly. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 5. I love the colors on this, it's so pretty. For card number 6, I have 2 different pieces of pattern paper. I have that floral paper, there's some butterflies and birds on the background. And then I have this teal polka dot paper. I cut a fishtail on the bottom. I'm just layering it on some teal cardstock. I'll bring in some of the teal mirror peel-offs, put 2 of them on the upper portion of that background panel. Trying to get them nice and straight by using my craft mat. And I'm using some of the small pieces for that second piece. Since you're not going to see most of it, it'll be covered up by that polka dot paper. Then I'll layer this panel on some teal cardstock. And I'm actually using the back side of this cardstock. The other side has a pearlescent finish, but it didn't quite match, so I really like that back side instead. Put some liquid adhesive on the back of this large banner and adhere it to the left side of the card. And I'll bring in some more of the pearlescent cardstock. This is a yellow color. Just cut a small rectangle. Put some scrap cardstock on that right side, and then I'll adhere it. I'm going to shift it off to the right. I'll use one of the ephemera pieces. It has 2 flowers, there's a little birdhouse and a nest, and it has the sentiment live, laugh, love, which I don't really like. So I'm going to cover that up. I'm bringing in the Butterfly Wishes stamp set from a previous kit, and I stamped out happy birthday, and I'll be covering up that live, laugh, love sentiment. I think happy birthday is far more useful than live, laugh, love. I'm not really sure what that ever was supposed to mean. I'll bring in a few of the sequins from the kit, just using that cream color. I'll add 3 of them in the lower right-hand corner. And I'm using an embellishment wand to help pick those up, and then just adding a drop of glue. Then to finish off the card, I'll add some sparkle to both of those flowers. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 6. Now moving on to card number 7. This is one of my favorites as well. I love the colors. I have some gingham paper for the background. Then I'm using one of the sentiments from the stamp set. It has a bunch of script on it. I inked it up using some Versamark ink, and I'll be doing some heat embossing. I have the Ivory Pearl embossing powder. This is from Love From Lizi. And I stamped that image sentiment at an angle in the background. So you're not going to see most of it. It's just there for more of that mixed media look. So I'll get this heat set. So you can see it's a very subtle look in the background, but it does add that lovely shine. So I'll add this panel onto some black cardstock, and then again on, and then also layer it on a pink, kind of a coral colored cardstock. It matches nicely with the images I'll be using on the card. So I did add some liquid adhesive along with that ATG since I did the heat embossing, and it does warp that paper slightly. So I'll put some more ATG tape on the back and adhere my card front onto a card base. Almost put it on upside down. And I'll be bringing in a few of the ephemera pieces. I have this floral bouquet, put that one down directly using some liquid adhesive, and then I have 3 of the butterflies and the sentiment, "Oh Happy Day." For all of the butterflies and the sentiment, I will be popping those up using some thin foam squares. I've already put them on the back of the butterflies, but I forgot to add them to the sentiment. I'll put the sentiment at the bottom portion of the card, and then I'll have 2 of the butterflies over the flowers, and then that last butterfly will be in the upper right-hand corner. So that very bottom butterfly will actually sit on that sentiment banner. Next, I'll bring in those mini heart peel-offs. This reddish color matches so nicely with the flowers and the butterflies. So I'm adding 2 on the right side above the butterfly. I'll put 1 toward that lower left corner and 2 in the upper left corner. So I'll add that little extra sparkle. And then I'll also add the glitter brush to all of the butterflies. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out. Those colors are so pretty with the pinks and reds together. Now moving on to card number 8. I'm using one of the 3x4 cut-aparts. I just trimmed it down a bit so it fit nicer on the card. I'm going to layer this on some peach cardstock. I'm also bringing in some of this beautiful lace that's included in the kit. I just cut out about a 2.5-inch piece. And I'm going to cover it with liquid adhesive. Just trying to get most of the areas with at least a little drop of glue, just to make sure it's going to stay on the card. And then I'll adhere it to the right side of this polka dot paper. And I did put an acrylic block on top and let that sit for several minutes just to make sure that wasn't going to come off later. I'll layer this panel on that same peach colored cardstock. There was one more area that needed a drop of glue because it was pulling away. I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I love this sentiment, "Hello Lovely," with those beautiful flowers on the left. Now since the left side of this cut apart is going off of that lace, I do need to add some of those cardstock layers. The lace isn't really thick, but I still want to make sure everything is about that same level. And then I realized I put it on the right side instead of the left side, so I did have to pull that off. So I'm putting a whole bunch of liquid adhesive. I just want to make sure that's going to stay in place. And then I realized some of those corners I didn't have that extra cardstock, so I'm going to tuck in some of those thin foam squares. And now it's basically all at that same level. There isn't one side that's going to dip down. Then bringing in the stickers, this is a 12 by 12 sheet that's included in the kit. I'm using 2 of the tags. One of them has Love This and the other is 100% pure. I think the colors work nicely with that cut apart. Just adhere them underneath the sentiment. I did add those foam squares underneath where it goes off of that cut apart. And then to finish off the card, I'm bringing in the peel-offs. This is the style that's included in the kit. It's the mini circles in the mink color. So I have 2 in the lower right-hand corner and then just sprinkling a few of them around that image and sentiment cut apart. I'll also add that glitter to all of the flowers. And I think this card is as close as I can get to a mixed media look. So I have those little tickets and the lace. And I think it turned out nice. So now moving on to card number 9. I have this fun black and white polka dot paper for the background, and I'll be layering it on some red cardstock and also some gold pearlescent cardstock. But first I'll add 2 black peel-offs to the lower portion. So I'm using the medium and also the thinnest width of the peel-offs. This is the pinstripe style, which is my favorite, although I do use the mini shapes quite a bit. So put some ATG tape on the back and layer it on the red cardstock. And the red is cardstock that's included in the kit. You can see I do have a rectangle cut out of the background of that gold pearlescent cardstock, and I did that just to save for another project, but I did fill in that cutout with some scrap cardstock. The kit includes several fun dies, and I realized I haven't used any of them yet. So for this card, I'm using the flower, the leaf, and I have the little center of the flower. Now the vase die is from a honeybee stamp, so that's something separate. I used some of the yellow pearlescent cardstock for the vase. And then for all of the red flowers, the little petals, they are a separate piece, but I wanted to keep them all that same red color. So I did put a piece of double-sided tape on the back just to make sure they wouldn't all come apart. I have all of the flowers just sitting on there loosely right now, and I'll attach the leaves first. And I used the green glitter cardstock that's included in the kit, and also this gold cardstock is included in the kit. It has a linen texture to it, so it's more of an embossed look, and that's what I use for the center of all those flowers. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want to place all of the leaves. I end up using, I think, 7 or 8 leaves total. A few of them I do trim down just a little bit so I'm not having a lot of extra layers to them. And I decided to pop up that top flower using some thin foam squares. So I'm trying to get them fairly close so they look like they're actually sitting in that vase. So once all of the flowers are in place, I'll add the little center. And I do end up adding just a couple more of the leaves. For those last couple leaves, I'm only using one of the leaf die cuts. I'm just going to cut it in half. And I'll tuck it underneath the petals, put it underneath that upper flower, and then I'll add that last little half in the lower area. Just seeing if I could tuck it underneath that flower. I wasn't sure if it was completely glued down, but I was able to tuck it underneath. For the sentiment, I'm using another of those stickers that are included on the 12 by 12 sheet. The sentiment is The Good Life, and I decided to pop that up using some thin foam squares. And I'll adhere it underneath the bottom of the vase, trying to get it nice and centered. And for a finishing touch, I'll bring in some of the gold mini circle peel-offs, just putting one of the smallest sizes on either side of that sentiment. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 9. It's super sparkly with that glitter paper and all the pearlescent cardstock. Now moving on to card number 10, and this is my final card. I have some black and white striped paper for the background. I used some more of that tone-on-tone pattern that's on the 12 by 12 sheet, cut it out using a scalloped rectangle die. I also have just a small scrap of this teal polka dot paper, and I'm adding it to the back. So it's going to look like I have a strip going all across the back, but instead I just have 2 small pieces. I'll add some of the black peel-offs to the sides of that polka dot paper. And since that whole center of the panel is going to be covered up, I'm able to use some of those small peel-off scraps. So this is why you always save those little bits. I'm going to put this piece on some black pearlescent cardstock. This is from the add-on bundle. I did cut out that rectangle for another project, just fill it in with some scrap cardstock. That way there won't be that noticeable dip on the front of the card. Then I'll adhere this panel, and I did layer that scallop rectangle on some of that black pearlescent cardstock as well. Then using another of the dies, and this is my favorite die from the kit, it's this beautiful dragonfly, and I cut it out from that gold embossed cardstock that's included in the kit. And I'll adhere both of those down, just putting a liquid adhesive on the dragonfly's body, and then I'll have the wings sort of lift up. For the sentiment, I'm using the word hello. This is one of the ephemera pieces. I just popped it up using some thin foam squares. Just adhere it in that lower left-hand corner. And to finish off the card, I'll add some of the sequins. Put 2 in that upper right-hand corner and 1 to the left of the sentiment. And I'm using that cream color. I think that's the only color I ended up using this time. I'll also add some glitter to the hello word. So I'm just using that glitter brush and painting all of those letters. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out, but do let me know which card is your favorite. Now here's a quick recap of the 10 cards I made using Love From Lizi's July 2021 card kit. The theme is Summer Botany. It's a beautiful card kit, lots of floral and butterfly images, and the colors are gorgeous. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available, but quantities are always limited. So if you are interested in the kit, I would suggest not waiting. I have provided links in the description box for the kit and most of the products I used in this video. Now here's everything I still have left over. 2 full sheets of cardstock and part of the red. I have quite a bit of the 12 by 12 paper. There's 1 full sheet and then some of the cut aparts. Most of those stickers from that 12 by 12 sheet. I have 1 full sheet of this 6 by 8 and then some scraps. I have some more of that specialty cardstock. There's the stamp set. I only used a few of the stamps this time. I have most of that peel-off sheet since I brought in a ton of other peel-offs. I have some more of the lace. There's a bunch of twine. I never did use any of this beautiful butterfly ribbon. I still have quite a bit of the ephemera left over. There's a few more pieces. Here's the sequin mix, which I only use those cream color. And then here are all the dies. I still have 2 more of those beautiful flowers. So even after making 10 cards, I still have a lot of product left over. Lizi does add a lot to her kits. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.